Do you feel that your energy has diminished, that the mood is no longer the same, and that your vitality has been left behind over the years? Now you know. It is possible to recover testosterone naturally, without medicine, without risks, just with smart choices. In this video, we reveal the strategies that really work for those who are over 60 years old and want to feel alive, desired, strong, and with pleasure for life again. Watch until the end and transform the way you see aging. Virility does not die with time. It matures, and it can be even more powerful. If this content touched you, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and share it with other men who also deserve to return to live with power. His second youth begins now, and she does not depend on the pharmacy. It depends on you. Over the years, the male body leaves silent clues that something is changing inside. What was once routine, waking up in a good mood, maintaining focus, muscle strength, desire, now feels like an effort. Gradually, many men realize that fatigue is not only physical, but also emotional. They don't talk about it, but they do. And the reason, almost always ignored, may have a name and surname: a gradual drop in testosterone. From the age of 60, the levels of this hormone, which has always represented power, virility, and energy, begin to plummet. Not abruptly, but slowly and continuously. Like a light that goes out slowly, almost without being noticed. Testosterone directly influences muscle formation, fat burning, sexual vitality, and even good mood. And while many believe the only solution is to resort to medication or hormone replacement, science has shown more subtle and profoundly effective ways to rekindle that flame without medication. The first big change starts in the mind. Studies by the American Institute of Men's Health reveal that men who cultivate a sense of purpose, whether through hobbies, strong relationships, or volunteer work, maintain higher testosterone levels. This is because the brain and hormones communicate all the time. When there is enthusiasm, there is stimulus, and when there is stimulus, the body understands that it needs to produce more. But that's not all. What is put on the plate plays a decisive role. Research carried out by Boston University shows that men over 60 who regularly consume foods rich in zinc, magnesium, and good fats have a more balanced hormone production than those who follow industrialized diets. Among the main allies are avocado, rich in monounsaturated fat, helps in the natural production of testosterone and improves heart health. Whole eggs, source of good cholesterol, essential for hormone synthesis. Spinach and kale offer magnesium, which reduces cortisol levels and favors hormonal balance. Pumpkin seeds, small but powerful, rich in zinc and antioxidants. Pure cocoa, minimum 70%, improves circulation and stimulates the central nervous system, generating more energy and desire. Movement also matters. It is not about exhausting exercises or lifting large loads in the gym, but about regular functional and moderate intensity activity. A daily walk of 40 minutes, for example, is enough to reduce abdominal fat, which is directly linked to low testosterone, and to stimulate the production of the hormone. What's more, men who maintain a deep sleep of at least 7 hours a night have their hormone levels naturally optimized, as shown by a study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology. But there is one silent factor that many ignore: chronic stress. It activates cortisol, the so-called chaos hormone, which, when elevated, directly blocks testosterone production. Therefore, practices such as deep breathing, meditation, or even gardening can transform more than mood. They can reverse the hormonal trajectory of aging. Another relevant detail is physical contact and emotional intimacy. Research shows that the simple fact of maintaining affectionate relationships, touches, hugs, and an active sex life, even without penetration, already causes measurable increases in testosterone in the blood. The body understands there is still connection, there is still desire, there is still life pulsating. This new view on aging breaks the myth that decline is inevitable. It is real, but it does not need to be accepted passively. The man who, at 60, looks at himself with conscience and courage can access a new cycle of strength, pleasure, and vitality. No medicines, no risks, no artifices. It all starts with small but consistent choices. Testosterone is not just a number on the exam. It is a reflection of how man positions himself in life, and this reflection can, and should, shine brighter even after 60. The journey to regaining testosterone is not limited to what you consume or how much you move. There is an even more subtle, but decisive, field where the hormone balances or dissolves, the field of repressed emotions and self-esteem. Science is beginning to recognize what ancestral cultures have always known. The body only flourishes when the soul is not at war. Many men grow old carrying heavy silences, traumas that were not verbalized, guilt for what was not done, shame of the body that has changed. In a study conducted by Stanford University, it was observed that men who cultivate listening environments, whether in therapeutic groups or meaningful conversations with family members, are able to regulate their hormone levels more effectively than those who isolate themselves. Testosterone, as a reflection of inner strength, reacts to authenticity. This data is not metaphorical. He is a biochemist. When a man feels respected, seen, accepted, including by himself, the endocrine system responds. The hypothalamic pituitary testicle axis, responsible for the production of testosterone, becomes more active. It is as if the body said, "I am safe to live fully." Therefore, raising testosterone naturally is also a process of reconciliation with one's own identity. Another factor that is little discussed is the importance of vitamin D, especially between the ages of 60 and 80. Although many people associate this vitamin only with bone health, it acts directly on hormone regulation. In regions with low sun exposure, such as southern Brazil in winter or Eastern European countries, vitamin D deficiency is common and correlated with low testosterone levels. A simple exposure to the sun, 30 minutes a day with arms and legs uncovered, is enough to stimulate natural production, and at no cost. Food, at this point, needs to be strategic. In addition to the foods already mentioned, there are substances that act as natural regulators of the hormonal axis. Tribulus terrestris, for example, a plant traditionally used in Ayurvedic medicine, has shown positive effects on libido and mood in older men, according to studies published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology. Another relevant plant is fenugreek, which contributes to the increase of lean mass and the reduction of visceral fat. But it is necessary to be careful. None of these elements works in isolation. It is not a question of magic pills, but of a set of daily attitudes that, added together, create an environment conducive to testosterone flourishing. In this sense, it is essential to avoid invisible saboteurs, such as excess sugar, regular alcohol, and refined oils, which cause silent inflammation and prevent proper hormonal functioning. In addition, the posture in the face of life is a silent thermometer of virility. Men who remain curious, who learn something new every day, who maintain social and intellectual activities, even as simple as reading, studying, or playing an instrument, keep their brains active and, with it, their entire hormonal system in motion. Testosterone, contrary to what many people think, does not feed only on brute force, but on a passion for existence. Therefore, the idea that aging is synonymous with decline needs to be abandoned. What defines aging is not age, but the state of mind, the vibration of emotions, and the cultivated lifestyle. Men who adopt healthy practices that are consistent with their stage of life are able not only to maintain, but also to recover their vitality. And in doing so, they're not just improving their hormone levels. You are rescuing a part of yourself that was left behind. They are telling the world, and the body itself, that there is still much to live. That time is not the enemy, but an ally. That virility does not die with age, it just changes shape. There's a moment when the mirror ceases to be an enemy, when man learns to look at himself with more compassion than criticism. It is there, in this moment of lucidity, that the true transformation begins. The testosterone, which so many seek in artificial formulas, begins to be cultivated from the inside out, like a seed buried under years of silence but still alive, waiting for the first light. The human body responds intelligently to what is done with constancy. Small habits, repeated with intention, activate biochemical reactions capable of changing not only hormones, but the way this man walks, talks, and relates. And that's why daily rituals become essential, to get up with purpose. Eat mindfully, move with joy, rest with tranquility, love with presence. From a scientific point of view, these pillars are directly linked to the regulation of the hormonal axis. For example, a study published in the Journal of Andrology showed that men who maintain regular deep sleep routines, going to bed and waking up at the same times, have up to 30% higher testosterone production than those who sleep at irregular times, even though they sleep the same number of hours. In the same study, it was pointed out that men who consume 2 liters of water a day, avoid fried foods, and walk between 7,000 and 10,000 steps a day maintain significantly more balanced hormone levels, with fewer stress peaks and greater sexual and cognitive performance. But beyond the data, there is an often forgotten detail: male identity and maturity. In a world that values youth and performance, the aging man begins to doubt his own value. He sees himself as less needed, less desired, less strong. And it is this thought that directly affects your hormone production. The body believes what the mind says. Therefore, the rescue of testosterone also involves a rescue of self-esteem and the perception of power. The ability to provide, to protect, to be an example. All of this lives on, even if now in a more serene, wiser form. The strength of the mature man is no longer in the impulses, but in the presence. It's not in speed, but in depth. And the body understands this, and he answers. By relearning how to take care of himself, this man not only improves his hormonal health, it improves your affective bonds. His presence is felt, his eyes shine again. Virility returns with a quiet elegance. No longer impulsive, but stable, no longer domineering but reliable, and with it, the desire, the disposition, the pleasure of being alive return. It is important to remember that the natural path requires patience. The results are not immediate like those of an injection or pill, but they are sustainable. They are built on solid choices which do not cause side effects or dependence. On the contrary, the more natural the stimuli, the more the body learns to function with autonomy and balance. Increasing testosterone after 60, therefore, is more than recovering a hormone. It is to recover the man who exists behind the years, the disappointments and the pains. It is giving the body what it needs to continue pulsing with dignity, and to the soul what it deserves to continue shining with meaning. In the end, it's not just about living longer, it's about living Melhor. Calm, more energy, more desire, more truth, because at 60, life doesn't end. It has only just begun, in a new, more conscious, and even more potent way.